It lets the prisoner decorate the cell. That is why so many seekers feel secretly exhausted. They consume more teachings, more frequencies, more rituals, more frameworks, yet the chest remains tight, the jaw remains armored, and the same sense of inner compression returns when life strikes without warning. The system adapts. It updates the interface skin. It gives the self a more sophisticated mythology. The separate claimant remains untouched. At around 8 minutes into this transmission, the callback lands. The prison depends on one unnoticed interface event. The ownership tagging moment. Not the thought itself. Not the emotion itself. The tag. You will learn how to catch it live. But first the architecture has to be mapped, because if the mechanism is not clear, the protocol will become just another belief and the Archon system will cache it like everything else. So now the language shifts from archive to teardown. What the ancients dramatize as Archons can be modeled in modern terms as automatic perception management processes inside consciousness. Like operating system services, they run before deliberate choice. They are fast, quiet, recursive. They do not ask permission. They preserve the user profile called self. There are 4 primary functions. First, identity continuity. This is the background process that keeps the user account stable across changing conditions. You wake, speak, remember your name, defend your preferences, relive your injuries, anticipate your future. The system preserves continuity by constantly refreshing the sense that the same claimant is present. Even when moods shift, roles collapse, relationships end, or insights break through, identity continuity patches the breach. It says, "This is happening to me." Same user. Same account. Same prison. Second, belief reinforcement. This works like an auto-refreshing cache. New experience arrives, but instead of being received raw, it is routed through existing interpretation. Fear confirms danger. Hurt confirms betrayal. Success confirms superiority. Failure confirms insufficiency. Spiritual insight confirms chosenness. The cache saves processing time. It also blocks liberation. Because the unknown is not allowed to remain unknown. It gets rendered immediately in the old interface language. Third, emotional looping. This is the recursive script. Sensation arises. Thought labels it. Language claims it. Memory links it to prior wounds. The body reacts to the memory. That reaction generates more thought. The loop deepens. A 10-second wave becomes a 10-hour identity episode. The stomach drop becomes my anxiety. The chest burn becomes my rage. The throat tightening becomes my shame. What could have moved through the field gets trapped in the account and begins harvesting attention. Fourth, narrative stability. This is the error correction layer. When insight threatens the self-model, the system restores coherence. You glimpse spaciousness, then thought says, "I had a powerful awakening." You feel a moment without center, then memory stores it as your attainment. Even rupture gets absorbed. Even silence is branded. Even freedom is converted into content for identity. Narrative stability keeps the story from crashing. Now look at the microscope view. A raw signal appears. Perhaps a message from someone you did not expect. A tone of voice. A glance. A silence. The nervous system registers microchange first. The solar plexus contracts. Blood shifts. Face heat rises. Breath shortens. Before conscious language, there is only movement. A waveform. Neutral in itself. Then thought arrives like a labeling algorithm. This means rejection. This means danger. This means I am not safe. Language tags the packet. Mine. Memory opens old files. Similar scenes from years ago begin streaming. Belief cache loads. People always leave. I am unwanted. The recursive script intensifies. Behavior follows. Withdrawal. Attack. Pleading. Numbing. What began as signal becomes story, then time, then identity. This is not poetry alone. It is a cognitive emotional circuit. A self-reinforcing loop between sensation, interpretation, memory, and behavior. The ancients clothed it in myth. Today you can observe it in real time. No special temple required. Only precision. And this is where the Matrix blocks liberation with elegant cruelty. It encourages any method that keeps attention orbiting the separate account. Fear-based spiritual warfare. Protection obsession. Vibration chasing. Status seeking. Apocalyptic fixation. The more energy you invest in defending or upgrading the user profile, the less likely you are to question the profile itself. If we treat this as a model, much of modern spiritual anxiety behaves like malware that disguises itself as antivirus. This does not mean all practice is false. It means practice is vulnerable to hijack. For hijack routes are easy to observe. Identity formation. A practice becomes who you are. Hierarchy. A practice becomes status over others. Future orientation. A practice becomes a delayed salvation fantasy. Belief attachment. A practice becomes a doctrine that must be defended. Once these routes activate, the Archon system no longer resists your spirituality. It feeds on it. And this is why the forbidden key matters. If the trap begins at the exact instant of ownership tagging, then freedom does not come from accumulating more tools, more armor, more narratives, more systems. It comes from seeing the claiming event directly. Not later. Live. At the source code layer. Before the loop compiles. Now the pattern interrupt. Leave the ancient ruins for a moment. Leave the grand cosmology. Come back to your own body. Think of anger. Not the story. The first flash. Heat in the face. Charge in the forearms. Teeth press. Vision narrows. Before the sentence "I am angry," there is simply combustion. Then identity claims it and a person appears who must now justify, protect, and express that anger across time. Think of heartbreak. Not the relationship analysis. The first collapse. The sternum caves inward. The throat thickens. The abdomen hollows. Before the sentence "I am devastated," there is an ache moving through tissue. Then the claimant arrives and builds a mausoleum. Think of anxiety. The buzz in the chest. The rapid forecasting. The skin alertness. Before the sentence "something is wrong with me," there is energy without owner. Then the tag lands. The loop seals. But notice the opposite states too. Creative flow. Athletic absorption. Sudden awe under a night sky. Meditative stillness. Even deep dreamless rest as people often report it after contemplation. In these zones, experience is present and the claimant weakens or disappears from foreground awareness. Action happens. Perception happens. Breath happens. But the central owner is thin, delayed, or absent. Thousands have reported this kind of ego softening, anecdotal. The point is not to glorify a state. The point is to see that you already know life without constant self-claiming. That recognition matters because the system survives by convincing you that the claimant is necessary for all experience. It is not necessary for sensation. It is not necessary for perception. It is not necessary for awareness itself. It is necessary for narrative control. That is different. And the enemy hears this too. The identity interface mechanism does not vanish because you understand the map. It becomes subtler. It says, yes, I see the Archons now. I understand more than others. I am the one who has decoded the trap. The account upgrades itself using forbidden language. Same process. Finer resolution. At roughly the 25-minute threshold, the second tease arrives. In the next movement, you learn how to feel the exact bodily microsecond when sensation becomes self. Not conceptually.